the gold winner from last year in the Unlimited, Dreadnaught's pilot, on this episode of Taking Off. Hey everyone, Dan Milliken. I'm here at the Reno Air Races, the final flag here at Reno, and we're at the Flying Eyes booth. And if you go to flyingeyesoptics.com, you can use our discount code Taking Off, all caps, one word, to get 10% off. Joel, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Joel, you are the pilot for Dreadnaught. How long? Tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into aviation, and how you got into flying Dreadnaught.
I started hanging out at Plains of Fame in Chino when I was just a kid and grew up there around all those people, and there's no better place to get that experience, that exposure, and they took me in and kind of brought me up through the ranks, started flying some of the warbirds there. My wife is Shannon, and she is Dennis's daughter, and
Right.
We've been married since 2010. And so about 10 years ago, we moved to Ione and became part of the business up there, and started flying the Sea Furies not long after that.
The Sea Fury is quite a unique airplane. What's the history of the Sea Fury?
It's kind of the latest development in a piston engine fighter. So the American equivalent would be the Bearcat,
Right.
and it's a post-World War II airplane. They didn't see any action in World War II, but its development came out of that, and the next evolution in fighters was jets. So it's a very high-performance, very fast airplane.
And what's the engine like on a Sea Fury, and then specifically Dreadnaught?
Well, a normal Sea Fury is a Bristol Centaurus sleeve valve engine, which has become quite rare. Dreadnaught was re-engined in 1983 for its first appearance at Reno with a Pratt & Whitney R4360, and that's kind of the latest in development in piston engines. So you take the latest development of the airplane with the highest horsepower engine and put them together, and that's what Dreadnaught is.
How many cylinders, how many horsepower?
28 cylinders. It's rated 3,800 horsepower, and that was a power that was used in every takeoff in every airplane that had that engine in it.
Take us through last year's gold medal run. How'd that go?
Last year's gold medal run, we came out here and we qualified top spot, and there were some weather issues, so we didn't race every day.
It was visibility. The fires from California were coming over.
Smoke, and so we didn't actually get a chance to run a lot last year. And when the heat race we did, we were out front. We stayed way out front, and it ran well.
I guess that's the way to do it. All right, so now we come to the final flag at Reno. It hasn't been all good for Dreadnaught. What happened?
No, well, we came up here and we had a little more competition this year with the Bardol airplane, and they set the pace for how the week was going to go by their qualifying time, which was when I qualified, they had a speed on the board at 444. So we were trying to match that the best we could, and Dreadnought, we went out and in our qualifying run, and we were doing a 2-lap qualifying session. The second lap of that, we had a complete engine failure.
Complete. So take me through what you were thinking, feeling, and what you did.
Well, when you're out there qualifying and you're running those horsepowers, you're very in tune with how it's running and how all the temperatures and pressures are doing. I'm giving feedback to our crew over the radio. They're taking notes, and they're advising me of any potential things going on, and everything was going well. And then coming around pylon 7 or 8 or somewhere around there, it had instantaneous failure, and we definitely didn't know what it was at the time, and but there was no question that big problem, and it was an instant mayday. So I was able to get Dreadnaught pulled up off the course, declared a mayday. I tried to get it to run or do anything to make power. Initially, I didn't know if I could have the engine carry its own weight, if I could get anything out of it, but all I could do was get it to backfire harder and worse. And luckily, we were going fast. We were able to get lots of altitude and set up for a nice approach into runway 14. Runways 14 is kind of the ideal spot. A mayday almost anywhere on the course you can maneuver to that runway. It's right in the middle, and it worked out well that we had the energy. Part of the energy management, as it's failing, I decided it wasn't going to make enough horsepower, and so to reduce drag, the propeller control comes all the way back.
Wow.
So you're putting the blades into course pitch. You're committed to not having an engine at that point.
Yeah.
And the only thing you're doing is just reducing drag.
Well,
and
you're
so
not bringing it back anyway at that point.
Yeah, and I tried moving the throttle to different spots,
Yeah.
and something bad was happening. As I got over the runway, it was still hard to know how much energy I have, if I've got fire, smoke, a lot of those cues I can't see from the cockpit. I've got the ground crew. They told me that I was smoking, but it was light.
Okay.
We had the safety plane, Robbie Patterson, flying safety in the Mustang. He was almost instantly in a position to where he could see Dreadnaught and let me know if there was a problem, if there's fire or anything like that, to where I might have to change what I'm doing. Once I got up to about peak altitude, I wasn't going to get any more. Now it was on the way down. I was in a position to make a base turn. When I turned base, I had a good, clear view of the runway. Still had good energy. I put the gear down. It's minimal drag.
Really?
And I wanted to kind of establish the drag profile.
So you know how
before it was too late. And so got the gear out, kind of turning into base. As I turned base more, I was still plenty high, plenty fast, and I put all the flaps in. The prop was still turning at that point, and when the prop's turning, the hydraulic pump is still doing something.
Okay.
So there was no emergency gear extension. The flaps operated like normal. They came out. I was still high. At that point, I think I was maybe even crossing the end of the runway. I put the propeller back forward to try to slow it down a little bit. We touched down, I think, about a third of the way down, and as it was rolling out, it seized completely, and I was able to kind of get it off the edge of the runway onto the taxiway just a little bit, just coasting along. And
so at least you put it down. You didn't bend any metal. That the mechanics can get in there and Dreadnaught can live another day.
Dreadnaught will live another day. It's going to get another 4360.
A whole new engine. Do you know what happened at this point now, 2 days later?
At this point, we haven't torn it down. We haven't taken it off the airplane, but we're pretty sure happened is we had a master rod bearing failure, and that allowed the piston to travel further than its normal travel range, as that master rod is failing. And piston came up, hit an intake valve, knocked it off. With an intake valve open or gone, all of the fire that would normally happen in combustion now can travel through the whole intake system, and it burns up all the fuel for all the cylinders before they get it, and it blows it out the front of the scoop.
Thus the smoke.
Some of the smoke, but that was the loud popping was backfiring, and it was coming, it was the whole intake system, the whole fuel air charge backfiring and going out the inlet. We damaged the inlet from that. It's a pretty aggressive thing to happen.
Okay, so I know that these engines for Dreadnaught are just common. You can go down to Walmart and pick one up. But I'm being facetious.
The key is to go to Walmart before they sell out.
Right. But because there's a run on these kind of engines. How much does an engine like that cost for Dreadnaught?
Well, I think we're in a good position that we've managed to collect spares and parts and trinkets, and we've got a stash to where we can work with what is
You'll
still
overhaul
left.
that one, or?
I actually think a lot of the parts on it are still good. We'll know more when it gets disassembled, and we'll work from inventory that we have, inventory the engine shop has, and we'll be able to
All right.
put it together.
Well, thanks for taking time to come on and tell us what happened. So I appreciate it, Joel.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget our sponsors. I mentioned Flying Eyes earlier. Make sure you go to the website. Also, Colton Mortgage, coltontakingoff.com if you need a residential mortgage. If you need insurance, Jerry at clemensinsurance.net has saved me like over $1,000. clemensinsurance.net. Z-Vision, the brightest taxi and landing lights out there. 67 Design, 67D.com, the best camera, tablet, cell phone mounts for your cockpit or your car. And also Marshall Protective Services, personal protection elevated. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care.